सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्। श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात् शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात्। Yesterday after the yajna, I was questioned and the question was very beautiful. It almost seems like you do the wrong thing in criticizing the Lord, and at the end of it you get awarded as though by the Lord taking you into his shelter, like it happened to Shishupala, Dantavakra, Kamsa, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. These various people who get absorbed into the Lord, their Atma Chaitanya gets absorbed into the Lord. So it seems like, well, then do all wrong things and God is still ready to ignore all that you have done wrong. The point that we need to understand here very carefully is that this particular canto, 7th one, is trying to emphasize on one particular issue. Whatever be the intention, but if it is towards the Lord, if it is the theme of it, the concept of it is revolving around the Lord, Him being the main theme in and through that intensity of that intention, it takes you towards the Lord. And any other intensity which is not revolving around the Lord takes you towards the path of sin. And that which, the bhava with which you are turning towards God, God does not resolve it in terms of good or bad. Whether it be good or bad, from His perspective, He looks at it both in the same equal manner. Now it is like a child. The child comes to the father and says, I need this. The father says, no. Typically, every parent would say, get this many marks or get this kind of thing, then probably I'll think of it. Then this kid throws his tantrums. Looking at the kid throwing tantrums, and sometimes, at least in this country, it was quite a cultural shock when the kid would, anywhere, it doesn't matter, the kid would say that, Dad, I hate you. You are the biggest hypocrite. And there everybody around, and this kid goes off in a tangent. And this father, knowing very well that it is just a tantrum, would not go to the level of penalizing that kid. Now similarly, when you look at it, the perspective of God and His beings, what is the intensity with which you think of Him, however be the intention, whether it is through hatred or with enmity, with jealous, whatever be the bhava, but you think of that Lord and the Lord takes you in. But any other thought or theme, now get this point very clearly, any other thought or theme which does not involve God, which is for this petty little ego, for the satisfaction of this petty little ego, such ones are called samsarik. That which takes you, binds you further. If that point is understood, in this 7th canto, Prahlada has been treated very badly. Whatever be the treatment, his father's desire was not fulfilled, as he was not touched by any process that would kill him. They had tried every single process available that could kill him. In fact, there is the story which goes in Vishnu Purana, which is not mentioned here, is that the sister of Hiranyakashipu, Holika, she takes this kid and sits in the fire. But because of his devotion to the Lord, it is Holika who had the boon that fire would not touch her, turns into ashes, and this kid walks out untouched by that fire. And that is the day we celebrate Holi, Holika Dahan. The earlier day, this all negativities are burnt out, and that is called Holika Dahan. So nothing could happen to this kid. So finally what they did was they bound that kid into a space, into a particular room, not allowing him to, like house arrest, not allowing him to move out of that place. Because if he interacts with people, that is when there is an issue. That he will start talking about Lord and start spreading about Vishnu, which is not acceptable to Hiranyakashipu. And they were waiting for the Asura's guru. Even for their wrongdoing, they had a guru who would teach them how to do it. And he was Shukracharya. And they were waiting for this Shukracharya to come. Now in their waiting period, Shanda and Amarka, who were the teachers trying to teach this Prahlada and other Daitya Balakaha, the other students, they had some household duty and they had to leave, both had to leave, and the school was on a holiday that day. So usually when there is no class, what do the kids do? They love playing. So all these kids were playing and they invited Prahlada to play. But instead Prahlad said, let's have a different kind of thing today. Instead of playing, why don't you come up here and let's think about something else. Now this Prahlada, who never had invited her or had an opportunity to invite these kids, it was very strange for these kids that he invited them all, and then they just felt, let's see what he's trying to talk to us. So all these kids are in front of Prahlad. Now looking at these kids, there were other elderly people who were in that ashram who also joined them. Now to such a gathering, Prahlada starts speaking. He says, the first shloka of the 6th chapter, Durlabham manusham janma tadapyad adhruvam tadartham. Durlabham manusham janma. You have been blessed with having this human birth. Now in a human birth, why is it supposed to be durlabham, very rare? The reason that they say is, in the other yoni, in the other forms of expression, the soul could express into other forms, lower than the human form or higher than the human form, both these kinds of forms do not have the capacity to make their own decisions. They do not have the capacity of free will. And all the ones which are lower than the human form and the ones which are higher than the human form are supposed to be bhoga yoni. All that they know is to revel in their sensuous pleasures. Now this human birth, which has been as a blessing, what should we do in this human form? It says there is only one thing that can be achieved of this human form, and that is the only purpose of this human form. This human form is misused in various other formats, but this is the only reason why human birth is given. And what is it? Yatha hi purushasyeha Vishnoho padam samarpanam yadesha sarva bhutanam priya atmeshwara suhrata. The reason for a human birth is to discover that Lord within your heart. And no other reason is viable, no other reason is qualified enough to live our day-to-day life. All that, the main purpose of human birth is to surrender unto that Lord, to find that Lord in your own heart. Now what about the other goals and other purposes? Here Prahlada says in the 3rd shloka very beautifully, we normally run around in this world so that we can avoid dukkha and gain sukha. Dukkha is misery, sukha is happiness. But invariably, ayatnataha dukkham ayati. Without any yatna, prayatna, without any effort, effortless it seems, that misery seems to be the end result of 90% of our efforts. Ayatnataha, effortlessly it comes to us. Vipadyeta pushkalam. And how does it come? It is as though from all directions misery is like pouring down upon us. Now here misery can include all shades and formats of sorrow. Small ones, big ones. Now you don't need to search for dukkha. Dukkha is already coming in plenty. He says we have mastered ourselves in putting effort in gaining misery. And what do? He says, Pumso varshashatam hyat ayuhu is supposing Pumsaha, a person, has 100 years of life. He is giving you a statistical analysis. A very beautiful analysis though. He says, Pumsaha, a person, varshashatam hi ayuhu tad ardham nishphalam. Half of that is nishphala. Nishphala because ratrayam shete andaha. Whenever it is dark, because of the tamasic nature that develops in, half of our time is gone in sleeping. So if you have 100 years, 50 years, imagine where have we spent? Which is true, right? As if that was not sufficient, we have power naps in between. Half of our life is gone, 50 years is gone in sleeping. I mean, the moment you look at it this way, this kind of statistics, I mean, at least the first time I heard this, I felt no better than Kumbhakarna. He also was like this. 6 months he would be awake, 6 months he would be sleeping. We are in a different format, but we also do the same. Half of our life is gone in sleeping. Mugdhasya balye kaumare kridato yati vimshatihi. Mugdhasya balya kaumare. In petty little things involved when we are in bala avastha. Bala avastha, very childish kind of behavior when we were children. Getting angry, getting upset for no reason, for nothing important. And when you look at the child's insistence, you could not help but laugh at that kid. It happened once that I was very recently, this was like a 2.5-year-old kid. So after I had spent some time there, I was leaving, they came in with bananas and some apples, and this kid came in first. I said, banana, 2.5-year-old. So I gave him a banana, and I distributed the rest of the prasad to everybody, and this kid was like busy asking people to like open it. So I called him and took that fruit. It seemed later that he didn't want me to open, but he wanted somebody else to open it. Arey Baba, Arey Baba. I opened it and gave that to him. He said, no, now stick that and give that banana back to me. Where can I stick that and give it back to him? I can give you another one. I can give you 2 more. But that one cannot be stuck. No, I need that one only. Now stick it. So finally I gave that kid to the parent and I said, I'm leaving. You handle this kid. हमसे तो नहीं होने वाला. You handle. Mugdhasya balye. It doesn't serve anybody. They don't have any kind of. And one good thing about the kids at that age is they don't carry impressions forward. Now tomorrow, next time I go in front of that kid will not look at me and say, you were the one who spoiled my banana. That kid will not even have a recollection of it, no kind of memory spoiling his present moment. Then Kaumare, then when you get into the teenage, then you want to impress everybody with the way you dress up, with what you have, what kind of things that you carry. Almost 20 years, Kridato yati vimshatihi, 20 years is gone in this kind of a lifestyle. So 50 years gone in sleep. Now you have to calculate for me. I can either calculate or speak. Since I am speaking, you calculate for me. So 50 years gone in sleep, 20 years gone in Balya and Kauma. And then Jaragrasta dehasya yati akalpasya vimshatihi. The last 20 years is also useless for one reason. Why? Your sense organs are not in your control. Organs of perception and action are not in your control. And they become pretty musical. Like, when they sit, like the old, this is a description that he gives. Like the old doorknobs, which don't have the oil and grease, and when you open them and close them shut, there is a different weird sound that it makes. So they become pretty musical, their limbs start making sounds, and that sounds which are naturally made cannot be heard by them. And if you talk to them with a higher volume, they get pretty annoyed. They say, do you think I am deaf? And you are talking something really very secretive to somebody, that they pick up, that they somehow hear, that they somehow understand what you are speaking. And they postpone their lifetime thinking that, that is the time then I'll spend on reading Bhagavad Gita and other things. Now the book print is so small, and I used to wonder when I was a child that they will be wearing glasses, but for reading they'll remove the glasses and then I was like, acha, this is only for style that you wear those glasses. It doesn't really, you don't really require them. It is only later part that I understood there is that bifocal, and for reading you don't need them, for only seeing you require them. But then that is the age wherein in spite of those glasses you can't even read. And then akalpa, akalpasya, you don't know when what things will fall apart. Now when you think of it, it is pretty scary. Anybody else to shut off their things? Just check. बाद में गुस्सा आ जाएगा. Just check once for. Good. Akalpasya, it is pretty scary that anything can fall apart at any time and you don't have any control. And this body runs, as long as it runs smooth, we don't value how it runs. The moment something happens, however little, however small it is, anywhere, and for cliche purposes we use pain in the neck, but pain anywhere is unbearable. And if something conks off, there are not even spare parts available. You have your car, there is something which goes off, and you can change it. But here you can't even have the, and even if you do get changed, they change limbs. Nowadays they have those metallic things. When you go through the airport TSA, it makes sound. So they change their knees, change the hip. And they're not pretty successful either. They're not an actual replacement for the original organ. Yeah, they give you little mobility, that's all. So akalpasya, you can't even imagine what things can happen. It just blows apart. And about the rest of the stages in life, Balya, Kaumara and all these different avasthas, they come and go. Old age comes, but we go. Old age doesn't go, it comes to stay. So 20 years gone that way. So 50 plus 20 plus 20. 50 plus 20 plus 20. How many years gone? No, he included that also and said 20 years. Prahlad is not here to argue now. He is the one proposing it. No, you remove the sleep part, then it will be 40. True. Okay. So 50 plus 20, 70 years. Right? Now how much do you have left? 30 years. Dura purena kamena mohena cha baliyasa sesham gruheshu saktasya pramattasya apayatihi. Now the rest of these 30 years, what do we do? To put this in a very easy format to understand, procure and secure. Procure that which you don't have and secure all that which you already have. We are taught how to earn, but we are not taught how to spend, how to give. We are taught how to desire, but we have not been taught what exactly to be desired, that which unlimits us. We have been taught about dharma, but we have been never taught about dedicating that dharma to a higher altar. So 30 years, sesham gruheshu saktasya. If you are griha adhipati, you are married and have a house and a household and other things, gone. The rest of the 30 years, at least in this country I could say, if you have 2 kids or 3 kids, 17 years, 16 years gone in driving around, chauffeuring the kids around. And it seems as though like this kind of painful moment is come there for eternity. We keep hoping, and that we do very well, that the next day, next moment, next year, may that be good. One day while we were there with Gurudev in a camp, so this person comes to Gurudev and says, brings in a horoscope and shows his hands, whichever one, can you predict my future? Now just looking at my face, can you predict my future? He didn't even look at that person. He said, pretty bleak. You were like, what? You didn't even look at anything. I said, the one who is focusing on future and not in this present time, his future has to be bleak. Because I cannot tell you about your future, but definitely I can tell you how to make use of your present moment. And in this present moment, where are we busy? Busy in all these kinds of things. And in handling in this day-to-day 30 years, of the 100 years, what we end up handling is just this 30 years. And in these 30 years, the indriyas, the organs of perception and action, they are never in our control. Whatever be the indriya, it is never under control. And in Vivek Chudamani, Adi Shankara very beautifully puts that not having control over one of the indriyas, like the patanga is the firefly which gets attracted to the fire, you stop that firefly. I said, rest of your friends are dying into that fire. See, do you think the majority are fools? Everybody is rushing in. Why are you stopping my freedom? Let me go. There's something attractive, fire. And we all know what happens to that firefly. Does it get anything out of jumping into that fire? Patanga, Meena is the fish. It's a glutton. and its gluttonous is what kills it. Patangamina, bhranga, the bee, bumblebee. It loves the smell of lotus. So it sits in there. And these lotuses in the evening, they shut off and they close. And the job is done and they fall into that lake or pond wherever they are growing. But the bee expects or hopes that tomorrow morning it will again open up. Until then, let me enjoy this one. Then as that lotus falls into that lake, rots, the bee also dies. So each one of these beings or creatures not having control over their organs of perception and action lose their life, and what to talk of a human being who does not have control on any one of them? How can he be happy? Then he says, and his analysis is so beautiful, a 6-year-old kid or 5-year-old kid, his analysis, he says, like the thieves or the businessmen or the servants, the way they spend their lifetime in trying to save a lot of things for themselves. It's not enough that if they earn for themselves, but down the generation, 10, 20 generations should be living off their effort. Now when you look around, there are people who have trusts in the name of their sons, so that the funds that they gain is put in that trust and they don't need to pay taxes for it. They have trust that is on their grandson's name. 50, 60 years down the lane, they have a trust. Meaning for 60 years or 50 years, they don't need to pay taxes. I hear that, when the father gives his property to the son, and you may correct me, I've just heard it or read it, my knowledge on those things are very bleak. 50-55% is to be paid as tax, right? In order to avoid that and the entire thing go to the child, there is a trust formed even before the child is born. So we have been taught always to keep gathering. A typical Indian house. Wow. Sometimes, when people take me home, most of us go home through the garage. By mistake, take to that back alley and they realize that, oh no, Swamiji, let's go from the front. Then make a pradakshina, come to the front door. By mistake, I landed into somebody's house and it was through the back door entry. Barely 2 cars can fit in. Everything else is hanging through that garage. 4, 5 bikes, cycles are hanging in there. And the dust that has accumulated in it must have been in years that they have not used it. Then the roller skates, then there are different kinds of balls, different kinds of caps, different, there is a different refrigerator, there is a freezer, and there are things hanging in there. And I have seen people, do the cleaning. Wife comes and throws away all the things. Husband comes and says, how can you throw this thing? Half of it is back. Then the children can say, are you crazy? And the rest of it is back. So eventually nothing gets thrown. And a good management, they teach that if you have not used something in 6 months, you may never use it in your lifetime. I can understand there is some official things with the lawyers or CPAs and doctors and such professions, wherein you have to keep the things for 7 years or 9 years. How many years? 7? Okay. I'm just looking at the professionals. They handle it daily. I can understand that pain. But that which is not required, even a nut, bolt, it is good if you reuse it. Always recycling is a great thing. But you never recycle it. This comes up, you get another one, this goes out, and this you don't even throw out. पता नहीं कब कहाँ आ जाएगा, रखे रहो. Magazines, newspaper clippings, and do not what. And we have always been living in this kind of life pattern. He says, where is the time for thinking about that purpose for which we were born? Have we ever spent time? And what he means here, spending time, is not once a month a yajna or once a week a study group. No, he means something more than this 1 hour business. Are we sincerely pursuing that one reason for which we were born as a human being? He says, if there is somebody who has lot of panditya, lot of scholastic gain, but if such person does not utilize his intelligence in realizing his life's purpose, in finding that God within, another life term is gone waste. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he used to cry every day in front of that mother, saying, "Oh mother, another day has passed in my life without realizing you." Probably what we will have to cry, another life is going waste without realizing you. When will I have that capacity to think about dedicating my life to that Lord? Because the way the education has taught us, earn, have goals, have vision, have purpose, they take so much of priority that the main purpose of life is forgotten. I know most of your minds are thinking of something else also now. How can you be so impractical, Swami? This is not a practical knowledge. I can see it in your eyes. It is okay that Prahlada said it. I don't think it is practical. Let me put it in a format that we can understand and know it. Every single effort that we have put, knowingly or unknowingly, is it not for happiness? "30, 40, 50, 60 years have gone by in pursuit of that happiness. It is like you go to your friend's house or your own house, and every day you come from the highway and you miss the exit. And after you miss the exit, you say, "Gosh, I missed it," and then you go around and come back, and then once you may say, "I missed the exit." Second day you miss it, third day you miss it, for 60 years you miss it. It's right there, and you miss that exit every single time, 60 years in a row. Aur rote raho. And that happiness which we have been searching every single effort of our life, I'm not talking every single day, every single effort of our life, millions of efforts that we put in a day is to be happy and nothing but happiness. As the kids here ask, right, when you're driving, are we there yet? Now think how pathetic our lifestyle is, wherein every single day we put millions of efforts in pursuit of that happiness, and not one effort reaches somewhere near that. It is not even on that same wall. Let alone hitting the bullseye. It is not even hitting the same wall. In some other direction, somewhere else. Anything that takes away from us, takes us away from that core, that happiness, is sin. And seeing these people who are being born in the Asura clan, and their parents teaching and the guru's teaching, Prahlada's heart is totally melting for them. He says, if not today, nobody else will give you this knowledge. Listen up, pay attention, understand this truth. He says that everything that is in this world is nothing but pervading with that Lord alone. And all that you have to do is tune into that divinity when you are interacting. Don't hoard this universe into the field of mine and not mine and efforts in trying to aggrandize more and more in life. That is not the way, that is the Asuric way of living. Think about it. That is the Asuric way. Asura or Daitya doesn't mean there is somebody with demon with two horns and big teeth as portrayed. It is a mentality, and that mentality has been explained so far. If everything that which is pervading is that Lord and it is His greatness, that even from Brahma to the smallest particle in this universe moves with His permission alone, to dedicate and surrender to such a Lord our life is the easiest way. And he says that Kevalanubhavananda Swarupah Parameshwarah. In and through every experience you should be getting that bliss, because you are interacting with that divinity around. And to reach to this height, there are sahasreshu. There are millions of methods, but one method which is sure and easy is Harehe Bhaktihi, devotion to that Lord. Now you would immediately ask, what does devotion mean? He puts it in such a simple. He says, Tasmat, this is in the 24th shloka, Tasmat sarveshu bhuteshu dayam kuruta sauhridam asuram bhava munchat yaya tushyati adhokshajaha. Adhokshajaha tushyati. That Lord will really be happy with you when sarveshu bhuteshu dayam kuruta. Be compassionate with the entire universe. What do you mean by being compassionate? That which you do not want the rest of the world to do unto you, don't do it to the world. Do you want the world to belittle you? Do you want the world to suppress you? Do you want the world to look down upon you, use you as a trash bag or a carpet? Don't do that to the world outside. Treat it with that humility and that respect with everybody. What if they have done harm to you? Now, have they done any harm more than what has happened to Prahlada? His own father tried to kill him every which way possible. Has it been worse than that? His own father made him be crushed under the elephants, threw him into the cell with poisonous snakes, boiling oil, into the ocean, off the cliff, into a storm. There are petty little things happening here and there in our lives. Why me? Prahlada never complained, why me? Okay, fine. If it makes me think of the Lord again and again with more intensity, many more such things can happen. I am ready for it. But he never got back into the mode of revenge. How dare you fellow treat me like that? Mere gali mein aaja. Never with the intent of retaliation. This is called actual ahimsa. And it is the highest state. Now compare our lives with what has happened to Prahlada. In a short time of 6 years, he is just a kid. He cannot even fend himself. He was tortured constantly, day in and day out. It was not once in a lifetime that was happening. His entire lifetime was these happenings of tortures. And he says that which you do not intend happening to you, don't do it to others. Have compassion on everybody. Which means never have hatred towards anyone. Asuram bhava muncha. This tendency to parapida, to create pida, pain for others, knowingly or unknowingly. Muncha, leave that. And he says, Shrutame tanmaya purvam jnana vijnana samnyutam dharmam bhagavatam shuddham naradat deva darshanat. He says, this is called Bhagavad Dharma, which was given to me by Narada himself. Yesterday we were asking, how did Prahlada get this knowledge? Amazing that he has this kind of knowledge at that age. Naradji gave me this knowledge. Immediately, Daitya Putraha Uchuhu. Those who were sitting around him, they immediately asked him, wait a second, we know you. We have never seen you with any other guru. The gurus that we have is the Shanda and Amarka. And we understand what they are teaching is wrong, but where did you meet Narada? So Prahlada in the 7th chapter says, now here Naradji says, because remember the story again, Narada is telling the story to Yudhishthira. So Naradji says that Prahlada thought of him, Naradji, and started speaking to these kids. So what did Prahladji say? When my father left for the Mantharachal for doing tapasya, all the devas, knowing that my father had gone for penance, decided on a major attack on the different cities that we had occupied. And finally the kingdom that my father had created, that was also attacked. And the way he explains, Kalatra putra mitra aptan gruhan pashuparichadan. And all these people got so scared that, people left their women, sons, friends, everybody, because their life was at stake, and they left everything and ran away. So in this chaos, my mother was captured by Indra, and I was in her stomach. I was in her womb. Luckily, what happened? Niyamanam bhayodvignam rudatim kurarimiva yadruchaya gatastatra devarshir didrushe pathi. So normally when we think of Narada, the way he is portrayed usually is that he is Kalahapriya. He starts all kinds of wars. But look at it, wherever he has come, his introduction into anyone's life has given nothing less than God's Sakshatkar. That is the kind of satsanga influence. And to such a Mahatma, we have no business ridiculing him, saying he is Kalahapriya. Whoever life that he touched was blessed with the Divya Darshan of the Lord. Including people like Ravana, Kumbhakarna. They were blessed with that Lord. So Naradji comes there. He says, "Hey Devaraja, Indra, why are you taking these women, especially Kayadhu? Kayadhu is Prahlad's mother. They have done nothing unto you. Why are you punishing them? This is unmanly, unrighteous of you to do so." So Indra says, righteous or unrighteous, I don't know. But I know very well that Hiranyakashipu's seed is in this mother's womb. And as soon as he is born, I'll kill him. Or else I don't know what he'll grow up to be. And then leave this lady. So there, Naradji says to Indra, "Baba, do you know who is taking birth in this womb? He is going to be Mahabhagavato Mahan. He is going to be the greatest devotee ever of the Lord." Now, Indra, though fearful, as good as his guru was Narada, the moment he said that there is a bhakta being born from this mother, what did Indra do? He immediately parikramya divam yayau. He did pradakshina to that mother, prostrated to her and left her with Naradji. Okay, this devotee and his mother, you take care, I go. Tato no mataram rishihi samaniya nijashramam. Then this Naradji took my mother to his ashrama. Now my mother, who got such a protection from Naradji, who had said, "Hey Kayadhu, in this ashrama you can feel free and be protected. Nobody is going to touch you, so fear not." And she had another desire in her mind. May my child who is to be born, may that child be really unique and great. May he have auspiciousness in his life. And may he be born when I wish him to be born of the womb. Now both these things, Sarva Samarthya, the Naradji who had that kind of capacity to bless, he blessed that mother of Prahlada with both these things. And then he taught all the kinds of knowledge that would be necessary. So there is constant satsanga, and she would participate in that satsanga. Both Kayadhu and her child in the womb would be listening to that satsanga. In Vishnu Purana it says that sometimes when there was classes wherein you are supposed to repeat, Kayadhu, because of the growing womb, she would fall asleep in the class. And from her, who would be chanting was Prahlada from inside. So this goes into another sutra which says that when you are carrying your children, it's somehow very strange that when we think of our children, we want them to be as great as Rama, Buddha, or great people, great individuals. But simple things that can really mold them into that shape, we seldom do. Now it seems that when a mother is carrying, instead of watching all these soap operas or reading through those gossip magazines, if the mother reads through Ramayana, Bhagavata, Mahabharata and chants great mantras, it has a direct effect on that child growing. And we neglect there. And then we start, pata nahi kahan se paida ho gaya. We keep complaining. And the same thing is the same kind of effect you can see in Ashtavakra's life. You can see the same kind of effect in Abhimanyu's life, who overheard the entire Padma Vyuha. But then seeing that his mother was asleep, all that he could hear was how to penetrate into that Padma Vyuha, but not coming back. So he had only half knowledge. But he heard it when he was in the womb. So you could call it as prenatal Gurukula. Before they were born, if you give them that kind of satsanga, the time they are born, you don't have to deal with their ADHD, right? Because they are focused well by the time they are born. A simple effort from the mother's side to give satsanga right from that age. Now moving forward, Prahlada says, Naradji continues saying that this knowledge was given to Prahlada. What was the knowledge? He says, Atma and Samsara. There are 12 different ways that they are different. And they cannot be same. So this comes in the 7th chapter, 19th shloka. Atma nityo vyayaha shuddha eka kshetrajna ashrayaha avikriya swadrug hetuhu vyapako asangyanavruta. These are the 12 qualities of Atma. Anything that does not have 12 qualities is samsara